Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ashabihi wa mawalah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'd. We would like to thanks God Allah Subhanahu wa taala who has been giving us blessing and mercies so we can discuss the actual problem, especially in banking theory, concept, and management. Our salawat and salam are always given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has taught their people respectively in order to attain happy and prosperous life in this world and hereafter. Honorable our speaker, Ustad Dr. Iman Sastra Minhaja. Kaifa halukum Ustad?
Alhamdulillah, Dr. Aif, how are you? Everything's going
Alhamdulillah,
fine?
fine. Well, Alhamdulillah. Ya, ahlan wa sahlan. Ya, our department say to you, Mr. After several activities have been carried out in our campus. Thank you very much on your time, on your opportunity to share your knowledge, your experience to our student, and also for this participant of ITLs today, International Training for Young Islamic Economic Leaders. Okay, well, today in this opportunity, we are going to discuss our material of ITLs. Yeah. Continue our discussion in the morning at 9 o'clock, which we just finished discussing with the nature of risk and regulation in banking with Dr. Ismail. In this opportunity, we are going to discuss more about good corporate governance in the conventional bank in Islamic one. Yeah, well, and this topic is very interesting for us to discuss, because of pandemic era, of course, cause the instability, maybe include in conventional bank and Islamic one. Okay, dear participant, as we know, GZG is a set of regulation that establish the relationship between management stakeholder, creditor, government employee, and the other internal or external stakeholder with regard to their right and obligation. Or in the other word, the system that direct and control the company. In this time, we would like to invite our speaker, the press speaker, I think, Mr. Muhammad Iman Sastra Minhaja. Before I give the time to the speaker, let me tell you about him. He is the head of Syariah, Oman Arab Bank, and the expert in banking theory, concept, and also management. Okay, I think we have much time to discuss until 3 o'clock. Directly, I hand over my time to our speaker, Muhammad Iman Sasra Minhajat. The time yours, Mr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aif, for the very good time to discuss about good corporate governance. Thank you very much for inviting us to discuss to this international training for young Islamic economic leaders. Probably we expect that through this kind of prestigious training, we will have the future of Islamic economic leaders for the coming 5 to 10 years, inshallah. Before I'll start my slides. For those who you are not no need for you to wait until end of the slide to ask the questions. You can raise your hand in this kind of training, if you are not able to deliver the questions in English, not that well, this kind of training for you to deliver the questions in English. You can also deliver the questions in Indonesian's language. You can also ask the question through the Arabic language. I have one of my students here in the Sultan Qaboos University, one of the best students that I see, Marwa Al-Azri. She's coming from the Sultan Qaboos University. Marwa, how are you? Are you there? Okay. So you can ask also in Arabic. Inshallah, سأجيب بالعربي يعني إذا كان يعني محتاج بذلك. Okay. You can ask also in bahasa Melayu. So I can because we are graduating also from Malaysia, from International Islamic University Malaysia. So for those who are not familiar with the banking, all right, if you are not familiar with how the banking systems are governed, how the banking systems manage their corporate governance, and either from the conventional part or from Islamic part. Here I will discuss with you in, I think, much details how the is conventional and Islamic they are managed their good corporate governance. All right. Okay. All right. Before I start, this course, maybe some of you are having nil knowledge about the corporate governance. I don't know. In order to make it easy, talking about this kind of corporate governance, what is a good corporate governance? Maybe you can switch on your, or unmute your speakers. I just want to ask you, how many of you are fans of football?
Me.
All right. One?
Yeah, many. I'm also one of them.
Okay. We do have how many participants here? From all these participants, how many of you are fans of football? Is it 50-60% of it? So you can unmute your speakers so that I can hear how many of you are fans of football.
No.
I don't like football.
Yeah.
Me. I like football.
Okay. All right. So how maybe
I don't
50.
like.
Okay. How many percent? Any one of you liking basketball?
Not really.
Yes,
Okay.
I like.
Okay, we in the sports, okay, in the sports area, we do have the much famous one. It is football and basketball, right? This corporate governance, or we call it good corporate governance, it is the same like how this football manager, they are managing the team in order to achieve the main objective. Their main objective of this football team in order to win, right? So that's the football manager. They will choose the best of the player in order to meet their team objective. This is the same like good corporate governance. Good corporate governance, it is like it is a defined set of relationship between a company's management, its board of directors, its shareholders, and other stakeholders, which provide the structure through which the objective of the company are set, and this first, and second, the means of attaining those objectives and monitoring performance are determined. Because in Indonesia, when we call it board of directors, they are mindset directly aligned with the directors, which is a part of the management. Here, if you are in Indonesia, board of directors means a board of commissioners, or we call it Dewan Komisaris, right? And management means it is the CEOs and all GMs or directors or whatever you call it, and the shareholders the same in Indonesia and anywhere. Shareholders mean those who have shares in the company. So this company should have set their objective. If the objective of the company, for example, to achieve profit maximizations, or maybe or to achieve the social impact, because if you are setting with a different objective, the goals will be different. The second means of attaining those objectives and monitoring performance are determined. So in order to achieve that objective, how you maintain the staff, the stakeholders of the company, the management, in order to achieve that objective. All right. For example, CEOs are said their performance. For example, the bank should have 5% increase in profit compared to the last year. So the CEOs will use his team in order to how to maximize the profit in order to at least achieve, for example, 5% compared to the last year, right? Okay. So in the context of Islamic financial services, or we call it IIFS, means Islamic Islamic financial institution that offering financial services, good corporate governance should encompass a set of organizational arrangement whereby the actions of the manager stakeholders. So in Islamic financial institutions, we are also arranged the same like what is conventional does, right? How the organizational arrangements taking the actions that where stakeholders of the Islamic financial institutions are aligned. And second is the provisions of proper incentive for the organs of the government, such as the board of directors, Sharia supervisory boards, management to pursue objectives that are in the interest of stakeholders and facilitate effective monitoring. So the bank itself, whether it is conventional or Islamic, they have the stakeholders. Stakeholders means anyone who are related with the bank. For example, the customers, the society, the public, which are having interest with the banks, they should provide a full information which regard to the performance of the bank, right? Thereby encouraging Islamic financial institutions to use resource more efficiently and compliant with Islamic Sharia rules and principles. So it has to using two things, which is more efficient resources, which is, for example, the CEO should be the one who are a good person in order to manage the company, who are abide the Sharia rules and principles, and also the product and services that offered by Islamic and conventional, they are also meet the interest of the people, right? definitions of the stakeholders. Before we discuss about stakeholders. So what is the stakeholders? Based on the BCBS, right? This BCBS means a Basel Committee for Banking Supervision. If you know, it is we do have a central banks in order to regulate the banks. So these central bank they are regulating by Basel Committee for Banking Supervision. All right. He said the stakeholders include employee, right? Include the customers, include suppliers, and the community. Due to the unique of the role of the banks in national and local economies, and financial system supervisor and governments are also stakeholders of the bank, because the government also sometimes they are place their money in the bank, and also there is also supervisors of the bank also they are include in order to monitor of the bank. So from Islamic financial services perspective, the community should particularly connote the Muslim of Ummah. So it should be, if, for example, the Muslim Ummah saying these are not, for example, these banks are not Sharia compliance, it will be provide you a bad image of the Islamic financial institution. So that's why you have to, take much considerations of the Muslim perspective as well about the Islamic bank. So customers also does not refer to the conventional depositors and borrowers, but also investment account holders and current account holders. And do you know in Islamic bank, if in conventional bank we do have also only depositors and shareholders, but in Islamic bank we do have also other part which is investment account holders. Why this is separate from deposit account holders? Because investment account holders, in terms of the investment criteria, they are the same like shareholders, right? So that's why having a much considered against the investment account holder, it should be a must in Islamic financial institutions. Investment account holders. Why this is separate from the, all right? So that's why it is when you talk about Islamic bank, they are in much focus also in other type of in the asset liability side, which is investment account holders. What is investment account holder? It is like, for example, if you place your money based on based on mudorobah or musharaka investment method, right? Here your relationship between you and the bank, okay, is the investors and institutions. So that's why, because you are liable if there is a loss, so you have to have a proper disclosure of information so that you understand that the bank are going well or not, right? Okay. Now, what is the rationale for corporate governance? Why we do need why we need this corporate governance? As because in football player, the role of managers has to be defined in order to achieve the objective of that a team. For example, sorry, I'm not fans of the football. Just like example, right? Let's say Liverpool, who is the winner of the Premier League now, in order to achieve his objective to become a champion of the Premier League, he has to set the the objective of the manager itself. All right. So who is the manager of Liverpool now? Anyone of you knows? Hello, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, doctor, we are with you.
Anyone knows who is the manager of Liverpool now?
I don't know.
I'm not in position to. I don't know that name.
No.
Or maybe there is no fans of Liverpool. Say that he's the manager. He has to define who is the striker. He has to define who is the middleman. He has to define who is the goalkeeper. So this best team, if they are trained properly and understand what's their role, they will make the team is very strong team. With no no player easy to pass this all from the front, mid, and the back. So that's why because they are managing the team well this year, so that's why they are achieving the champion of Premier League this year. So that's why there is also rationale for corporate governance. At least there are 4 points that we can discuss. First, separation of ownership and control. Say, for example, you have a small company, for example. I can say a startup company, for example, right? For example, you want to provide applications that make people easy to buy food and deliver food easily by one single touch, right? So you have to separate you and your employees, right? You also, as the management, you have to be separated. Also, you as the CEO. Also, you have to separate also you as the your customers. So that's why in the bank, it has to be separations also of ownership and control. For example, in separation of ownership and control, there is agency problem. All right. Say, for example, the shareholder said, okay, you have to achieve your objective by, for example, a 5% increase in performance of profit, but you cannot do 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It is also difficult, for example, for CEO and management, that in order to achieve that, if he cannot take a full control of that company. For example, I give you example of, for example, the family's company, right? For example, the CEO is the outsiders from the family, right? And also, let's say the CEO is, for example, Mr. A, which is outsider of the family. So all the shareholders are and the board of directors is the family members. So when the board of directors want to do proper business, while in one or two family members they are disturbing the CEO not to do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's not easy for CEO now to manage the business very well, because the family members are not professional one. So, right? So it's, for example, the contract also is not clear. So that's why we call it incomplete contract. Also, a good corporate governance is to ensure managers meet wider obligation to various stakeholders. So that's why good corporate governance makes sure that all the managers, CEOs, and everything, they are meet the obligations to the various stakeholders. Like for example, if it is Islamic bank, they are meet the obligation to the Muslim Ummah in general. For example, this is one. And second is the balancing stakeholders' interest. So how you balance the stakeholder interest between the stakeholders and shareholders. For example, shareholders want to achieve much a profit, and the stakeholders they are not much care about the for example the profit. They also much care about the share compliance of the product. All right. So managing conflict of interest among the various stakeholders. For example, this community, they like Mudoroba, this community, they like Murabaha, for example. So they have to balance between these two stakeholders. And sometimes there is also should be balance between the shareholders and investment account holders. For example, profit of the shareholders only 20% of the total profit, and 25% in profit to investment account holders. So and concern of anti-money laundering, also fraud and misconduct, because the bank is quite very much regulated company compared to other than the banks, because they are dealing with the people's money. So in anti-money laundering, it should be take also much into considerations. If it is also there is a fraud, there is misconduct, if there is internal management they are doing which is not compliant with the regulatory requirements, for example, or they are maybe stealing the money of the depositors, right? Third one, transparency and market disciplines. Timely and adequate, it should be timely and adequate information to Islamic financial institution investors. Systemic instability, suitable discretion to enhance transparency. So the bank, it should be transparent to all stakeholders, to the public and also to the community. Information asymmetries, for example, difficulties to evaluate performance and conduct of the manager. So that's why all the managers are giving a set of objective in order to evaluate their performance, right? So large investors and managers may manipulate board of directors and exploit the private benefits of the control, because the day-to-day informations of the bank, they are managed by all the CEOs and managers. So the exact informations are the true information are held by the CEOs and managers. So BODs, they are, because they are receiving the reports from these managements and all the managers. So it can be the information is not correct, right? So that's why if this information is incorrect, it will jeopardize the interest of the other stakeholders, like for example public and and also outside shareholders. Like the case of the old case, for example, AA and Ron, for example, the Sony case, for example, where there is the fraud, there is misinformations which is provided by the management, where the fraud, they are saying the company is in profit, but actually they are in big loss, for example. Insider dealing and abuse affect the market. So this one of the information asymmetries in the financial institutions. Any questions? If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and you can unmute your speakers. Right? So the stakeholders' value of corporate governance. So this here I give you a clear picture of how the stake values of corporate governance. For example, we do have on the top here. For example, we do have a shareholders' value of corporate governance. Here there is a shareholders who are having, for example, 30% of ownership. There is a 35%. For example, there is 20%. There is 1%, and so on. So we do have here also in how to manage the profit and how to distribute to the fund among the the stakeholders. For example, to the employees. For example, how the employees manage the fund of the shareholders, how the manager manage the fund of the shareholders, and financing customer, how the bank financing their customers, and how the deposit their money in the bank, and how the local communities impact on the corporate governance, right? So how to constitute the duty, constitute the firm's duties and responsibility toward the various stakeholders group. So that's why here, in order to make clear their objective, the manager should be define their objective. All these are people, stakeholders, they are dealing with this institution should be set their objective. All right. this is in order for you to understand how the bank they are dealing with good corporate governance. First, they are set the objective of each employees in the bank itself, right? Say for example, from the board of directors in Indonesia, we call it the board of commissioner or commissaries. CEO, we call it a president director, CEO. So here we do have, for example, Sharia Advisory Committee, we do have board of directors. We do have also director enterprise risk compliance management who is reporting directly to board of directors. We have also director internal audit department. He's the dotted line to CEO and reporting directly to the board of directors, right? There is board secretary also reporting directly to the board of directors. There is advisor to CEO is reporting to the CEO. There is a director legal service department is reporting to CEO. And there is also executive assistant to CEO is reporting to the CEO. All right. In the bank, we are dividing into three main category of function. We do have a front office. We do have middle office. We do have also back office. So this front office, we do have a chief retail banking officer, for example. They are managing the district managers, branch managers. There is a retail and micro and small medium enterprise. So that's why, like for example, in Indonesia, we have, for example, Sumatra, manager. There is a Java manager. There is the district 1, district 2, for example. So there's the same like Oman, for example. There is a area manager of Muscat, which is below him is the branch manager. For example, in here Wataya, there is Rui, for example, if it is in Oman, right? There is in deputy chief interest-free banking officer or chief interest-free banking, which is like in Islamic bank. There is also many corporate Islamic financial services relationship manager or district in Islamic financial services manager. We do have also a chief corporate banking officer. We have a chief transformation. In middle office, we have transformation and customer experience. We have also information officer and shared service central processing officer. In the back office, we have a corporate service officer. We have a finance officer, and we have also a human resource officer. All are these heads. They are all managing the there in all divisions and department, right? This is previous is the example of in one of international banks and in the Europe. Now I give you example. This is like for example in Asia. For example, this is Maybank. They have because their head office is in Malaysia. They have all this kind of criteria of governance structure from board commissioners, right? From president directors, right? Sorry. Okay, they have president director. They have all directors at least here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 directors. So all these directors, they are reporting to president directors. There is a CEO. CEO is COO. Also, they are reporting to directors, and all divisions and department head they are reporting to directors. And those who are reporting to the president director is like, for example, internal audit, strategic planning, for example, innovations and national anti-fraud. They have also Sharia banking in Windows, for example, community distribution, and so on. All right. Now, we are coming now to the Islamic perspective on corporate governance, right? So, if you have any question, please ask. So I will not speak only my own. So at least I can hear it also from your side. Please.
Yeah. Okay. Please, participant, if you want to ask, you can raise your hand directly. You can ask to our speaker. Any question from participant?
Yeah. Are we to ask question now or we wait until after the presentation?
Yeah. Dr. Iman.
Yes.
There is no question.
Okay. Right.
Hello.
Actually,
I mean.
yes.
Can we?
Yeah, please.
Can we ask now or we gonna wait until after the presentation because
okay. You can ask. You can ask the question related to presentation from speaker. You can ask before we going to the next title, the next topic of our discussion.
Okay, for me, I have a couple of questions, but I jot them down with regards to the previous presentations, slides, sorry. I don't know whether there will be any need or I can just raise it. It has to do with the corporate governance and the Islamic perspective of it. He spoke about the separation of ownership and also transparency and balance of stakeholders' interests.
Yeah.
So, like in the Islamic perspective, if you look at all these, okay, four blocks, you realize that if we are to follow the Islamic realities, I don't think this will be a problem because if you look at the separation of ownership and stuff like that, to my own analysis, I don't know, maybe what doctor will have. How will you relate these things to Islamic perspective? Don't you think that if you are to implement the Islamic policies in a right way, these things will not be a big problem to our corporate governance issues? Yeah, basically, that's my point because I relate the separation of ownership with.
Can you make louder your sound, please?
Oh, sorry, you are not hearing me?
I cannot hear you properly.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me now, doctor? Can you hear me now?
Better. But if you can make it louder, it's better for us to to hear.
Yeah, I'm saying like these 4 blocks you made mention of the rationale for corporate governance.
Right.
I said, don't you think like if we are to implement the Islamic policy Sharia in dealing with our transactions, our governance, this may not be a very big problem. But you know, you are in the system and you know better. So I don't know what is your experience with regards to this. Why are we still facing these problems? If we are
now your sound also become.
Yeah, why are we facing these problems if we are still how to call it, implementing Sharia in the right way? And also, based on your experience, in which system these problems arise more? Is it more in conventional system or more in the Sharia banking system? I want you to help me based on your experience on that explanation.
Okay.
Do you get my question?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Your good name?
Yeah, my name is Seku Gassama. I'm a Gambian by nationality, but I'm currently in Indonesia studying masters in University of Erlangen. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Brother Seku Gassama. It's very good questions. Do you see? We are at least provide you 4 informations why we do need this corporate governance. Of course, there are rationales why we do need this corporate governance, right? And so here I give you 4 type of rationales that why we need corporate governance, right? At least 4, which is like which is more importantly point out our stressing out in the corporate governance, like a separation of ownership, because sometimes in Islamic you have to define either you are the owner or you are the wakil, right? So that's why in order to make it easy, your role as what and for example, in Islam, we call it, are you wakil or muwakkil? Are you, the principal or the agent, right? So this is to at least you are not mixing each role, because each role has its own implications, right? Because also the shareholders, they have full information about the information about the bank itself, whether it is conventional or Islamic. But how to balancing about this kind of information. The information that received by shareholders are the same information that are received by the stakeholders or the public, right? So these are why we are need corporate governance. And the second questions, like which one more better corporate in terms of corporate governance, either conventional Islamic. Actually, because these are in a corporate governance, they are regulated under a central bank. They are conventional and Islamic are the same in terms of, from the point of the company should follow the regulation that are set up by the central bank, right? But as a personal, because in Islamic, they are adding the one more framework, which is very important in order to implement good corporate governance, which is Sharia governance. This Sharia governance has not available in conventional bank. It is only available in Islamic one. So that's why implementing Islam, the implementation of Islamic bank, it should be better compared to conventional, because they are not only dealing with the regulations perspective from the central bank, but here also they are also has to achieve the Sharia compliance, product and services, and they also has to manage the image of the Islamic bank itself, that they are dealing only with Islamic products, which is interest free. We are not adopt any interest in a product. All right, there is no riba transaction in this kind of Islamic, right? So that's why the reputation of Islamic bank is much more here in order to implement the good corporate governance, right? I hope that answer your questions.
Yeah, doctor, it answered. Yeah, thank you for the
All right.
feedback. Yeah, maybe I can give a couple of follow-up questions. Like, what I want to make clear is it that we don't have a holistic Islamic system whereby the Islamic banking will rely on Islamic policies rather than because you said these are more of conventional banking system policies. So now we bench it for Islamic banking and finance. So is that the problem? One can say, because I understand Islam, it has its own policies stipulated already. Are you hearing me, doctor? I'm sorry for.
I cannot hear you properly again. Can you make it louder?
Okay, no problem. Then we can continue. Maybe later I can give some more questions to you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because my connection is not that much strong for now.
It's only sound. It's, before your sound is very good.
It's good now. Okay, I'm saying like I understand like Islamic banking and finance should have their own holistic system that they will rely on instead of mixing it with a conventional banking system. Because what I understand, like from your explanation, if I get you right, it's like these 4 pillars you've explained with the rationale behind the corporate governance, it's like it's more of conventional than Islam. Am I
okay.
right?
Are you talking about the system is a core banking system or a system of only from the policy perspective?
No, the system of policy perspective, because I think that's the most important thing here. Yeah.
If it is a system from the policy perspective, we have a separate policies in Islamic financial institution. For example, in my current institution, we have Islamic windows. Most of our policies which are relating to the dealing with the stakeholders, we have different policy. Like for example, our product policies is different with our conventional. So the policy that we are set should be approved by the Sharia supervisory boards, right? So we do have a separate policy in terms of this one, in terms of the policy. So that's why, because our nature of the product is different compared to our conventional. So that's why this policy set it should be also different compared to the conventional.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for the wonderful answer. Really appreciate it.
Any other question from the other members? Right. Let's continue. Okay. All right. The Islamic perspective on corporate governance. Right. Yes, we are. For example, we are employees of the bank. Yeah. Or maybe, for example, the managers in the bank or the CEOs in the bank. But you have to understand your roles as from the Islamic perspective. You have, a relationship with Allah when you are doing your job, right? So in Islam, your relationship between Allah, although your boss is not watching you, for example, although you're in a CEOs or your managers is not watching you, but Allah is watching you. This is what we stress on the Islamic perspective on corporate governance. So if you are given task, for example, to do job, you have to do properly and until the job is done. All right. So that's why in Islamic, if you are given as the managers, for example, in some kind of departments, you have to do your job properly, right? Because as a Muslim, إذا عمل عملا يتقنه. If you have to finish until the end of your job is finished, right? So this is because you have your relationship with Allah as individuals. Okay. And the second one also, you have the relationship between you and the public, right? Or the ummah. Yes, you are the agents or the employees of the bank, but you have also to maintain your relationship with the others as well. Yeah, you have to maintain your relationship with your staff, your line staff. You have to maintain also your relationship with your boss. You have to maintain your relationship with the public. This also you have to maintain. So because also the ummah itself, they have to maintain also their relationship with Allah. So that's why we call it the relationship between individual and ummah to Allah is an implicit contract, but relationship between individual to others there is explicit contract. So that's why there is a legal contract you have to sign if you are dealing with others. Right? These all are governed under Sharia Islamiyah, right? Or we call it the concept of al-istikhlaf, right? Right. So why we need the corporate governance? Because the main objective of corporate governance in Islam is the same objective of maqasid Sharia, or the objective of Sharia. First, to protect religion. Second, to protect life. As a third, to protect intellect. Fourth, to protect posterity. And the last is to protect wealth. Right? Who can give me the answer? The protection of religions from the corporate governance perspective. Right? The committee, is there any hadiah For those who can answer the questions, Dr. Aif?
Yeah. Okay.
There is a hadiah?
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
Mister. We have one question, yeah, from Universitas Jember, yeah, from Nopilia Aisyah.
Okay.
Yeah, she asks how to synchronize, yeah, the interest between the manager and the owners. Synchronisasi, yeah. Is the conflict can be done just by GJG? How if the institution is very small? Is there solution?
How to synchronize the relationship?
Interest between the
the
manager
interest?
and the owner.
Managers and the owner.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. See, very good questions from our colleague from Universitas Jember. Because shareholders and the CEOs and the managers, they have the same objective, right? So that's why in order to that's why in order to achieve that objective, they are defined set which is agreed from the beginning. For example, all these managers, like for example CEOs and all the heads, for example, they are defined a set objective based on the nature of work, right? Say for example, I give you an example. The shareholders asking, I expect that this year the profit, let's say for example, should be increased by 5%, right? The CEOs will ask the corporate banking, will ask the retail, for example, will ask if it is investment bank, like there is investment team, right? Because in Middle East, most of the bank they are investment banking, right? But in Indonesia, they are most likely retail banking. So they are focusing only on corporate and retail, and also retail is including small and medium enterprises. While corporate banking in Indonesia, they are separate institutions. Like for example, Mandiri, Bank Mandiri, they have Mandiri Sekuritas, right? Securities, Mandiri Securities. But in Middle East, mostly is divided into three: corporate, retail for this business function, and investment. So the CEO will give a target to corporate banking. For example, in order to achieve the 5%, your target financing is, for example, 1 billion. Or retail, for example, in 500 million. Investment banking, for example, 500 million. So the total is 2 billion for this year only, right? So when everything is set, the shareholders will get a report on the quarterly basis that we already achieved this kind of a target of quarterly. So this is the objective, they are synchronized each other because the objective are defined as the same, right? I hope that answered the questions. So that's why in the corporate governance, everything should be defined and set. If it is not defined, you cannot understand what is the objective of the this company, right? The same, like I can bring to another part of the example. Say for example, if you are married, this is only if you are married, right? I don't know how many of the members are getting married already. Say for example, there is a husband, there is a wife, right? If this husband and wife, they are not defined the objective of after 5 years of the the marriage, you don't understand what to do from today, right? So if you are set if you are set the objective, for example, after 5 years, we have to have our own house, right? The value of our house is 500 million Indonesian rupiahs, for example, right? Or in Oman, maybe the value of the house is 50,000 Omani riyals. So this is, you already set your objective. because you know your objective, you are working together, right? So if you are for example, if you are married but you don't know your objective, after 5 years you are in trouble, right? That's why you have to set the objective. This is the standard corporate governance, because they are the same target, goals to achieve after 5 years, for example, or after 1 year, they are working together as per their job desk has been defined from the beginning, right? So that's, I already answer your question from Jember University. Is that clear from the from Jember? Yes. Any question again? So in order to make easy, I will give you another example, not necessarily in the bank. So I give you example, like for example, the objective of marriage between husband and wife. So if you don't have any objective, you, as I told you, you are in trouble, because you have to set the objective of your, after 1 to 5 years. And please, any questions again? No questions?
No. No.
Yes, please.
Yeah, any question? Any more? Okay, please continue, Mr. Iman.
Okay. Right. Okay. Now, as I told you that the maqasid Sharia itself, or the objective of Sharia, is the same, goals with the corporate governance, because the maqasid Sharia is to protect religion, right? So all the values of the company, it should be promote, as per the Islamic values, and also to protect the life. The corporate governance also has to treat their staff as a human being. If it is against the human being, means it is already against the objective of Sharia. It should be also if okay, so if it is also against the protection of intellects, for example, there is a financing of khamar, for example, there is financing of liquor, or which is against the Sharia objective, which will make the aql of the people is become weak. It is also not it is against the objective of Sharia. Also, if it is again to protect the posterity, it should not be there is human trafficking, for example, and there is not allowed for any prostitutions, for example. And also the last is to protect the wealth. Means your wealth, it should be protected in terms of the value, or in terms of against the laws also. So if you have the wealth, you have to maintain it properly. If you are not able to maintain properly, you have to assign someone in order to protect your wealth. All right. So all these are in one line is the protections of maslahah, as because it is the main objective of the Sharia is to alleviate hardship and eliminate prejudice, right? It is all the preservation and promotion, or al-maslahah. So that's why the Quran said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So we have sent you, O Muhammad, not but a mercy to the whole universe. So it is not only for Islamic religions, people, but also for other religion as well. right? From the corporate governance perspective, the Islamic it should be strict with compliance with the corporate and Sharia governance promote financial stability. Why we need this one is because it's a promote financial stability, right? So we have three main categories in terms of how to ensure the compliance with Sharia rules and principles. First is general corporate governance. Second is Sharia governance. And last is fiduciary duties in Islamic banking and transaction. So general corporate governance, it is the same like good corporate governance for general in conventional institutions, or it is bank or others. But in Islamic financial institution, it has content of Sharia governance framework or structure. Sharia governance framework, if you in general, it is consists of, for example, if it is inside the financial institution, we have Sharia supervisory board, we have a head of Sharia, we have Sharia compliance department or unit, we have a Sharia risk unit, for example, we have Sharia audit unit, or we have also another department. If it is the Islamic bank is the big, for example, there is also product documentations, there is also research and so on, right? If it is outside the organization, we have external Sharia audit. We have also in the central bank level, we have high Sharia authority. In Oman, we have high Sharia supervisory authority, which is under the central bank of Oman. This authority is the highest authority of Sharia. If any dispute in Sharia, the final decision will be taken by high Sharia supervisory authority, right? We have fiduciary duties in Islamic banking transaction. For example, if it is, let's say, if the house is mortgaged by the Islamic bank, if it is, the certificates are mortgaged to Islamic bank, if it is, on hold by the Islamic bank has to maintain that asset properly. So in terms of governance and illustrations, we are dividing into assets and liability. From the liability side, it is to safeguard interest, right, of investment account holders. For example, Islamic banking institutions for this responsibility is protecting the purchase profit sharing investment account, proper disclosure and transparency, right? If you are putting your money, for example, placing your money in the bank, you are expecting for example, 5% profit at least. So the bank should maintain your interest in order to achieve 5% profit. From the asset side, right, is to manage risk associated with Mudharaba, for example, and Musharaka contract, which is equity based, right? Both to ensure Islamic banking have sufficient expertise and capability. So that's why those who are from this part, right, both is to ensure Islamic banking have some sufficient expertise and capability. Those who are, for example, not expert in the managing the bank, not allowed to manage the bank. For example, those who have no experience, no expertise how to manage retail banking, they are not allowed to sit in that kind of position. It's same like, for example, in Sharia governance, those who are not well exposed to the Sharia matters, right? For example, from fiqh perspective, qawaid fiqh, for example, or in other part of Islamic banking knowledge, they are not allowed to sit as a Sharia supervisory board, right? For example, those who are issuing fatwa, it should be the one who are fluent in terms of fiqh, Arabic, and so on. So you are not allowed to issue fatwa if you are not eligible as a as a mufti, right? You have to, at least you have to understand the Sharia principle. You have to understand how to understand the fiqh and usul, for example. You have to understand also the knowledge of banking. Then you can issue the fatwa, right? The establishment of dedicated oversight function, for example, in-house property development research department or property investment and development activities, allow appointment of board representing on entities involved with such transaction as monitoring mechanism. So this requires higher standard of corporate governance by Islamic banking, board of directors and management. So that's why for you, if you are not well exposed to the knowledge of Islamic banking, you are not allowed to sit into the very important position in Islamic bank, right? If you have any question, you can raise your hand.
Yeah, please, participant. Before we step to other slide, you can raise your hand and you can ask, yeah, to explore the material today. Any question? Maybe related to Constitution Syariah. Yeah, just now, yeah, Mr. Iman.
Yes, I understand this topic is very difficult topic.
Yeah.
It's not like you under why I choose this kind of topic, because it is this topic is very important, and second, it should be explained by those who are experienced in the banking as well as in the management. For example, if you are in the management positions, like you are not head or you are not you cannot explain this properly, right? You have to explain, you have to experience also how these things are happen in the banking, and from the Islamic and conventional. If a credit risk, market risk is much easier, so that's why I choose this one, in order to make you the whole picture how the banks are work, right?
Yeah, there is no question, Doctor.
No questions? Okay, we can continue. Right. Now we are going to the pyramid of maslahah, protection of public interest. Right. These all are the the objective is to the fulfillment of the organizational objective is based on the principle of continuous improvement and sharpening the edge. Right. So here we have to understand what is the very basic need in order to achieve that kind of maslahah, right? So that's why in the maqasid Sharia or the objective of Sharia, we are divided into the three, right? The scholars, they are divided into three. First is ad-daruriyat. This is you have to achieve this one. The second is additional, al-hajiyat. A third one is just like embellishment, or the Indonesia is just like a only embel. I think maybe the word of embel coming from the English, embellishment. It's just like nice to know. It's just nice to have. If you don't have, it's no issue, right? That's why the same like in our life, right? What is your main necessity in life? For example, in the current situation, you need, for example, the house. If you don't have the house, it is difficult for you to live. So this is one of the real. For the families, for example, you have to have family protection of health. Second is that you have to have education's protection as well. So your children are well educated, so that they are not exposed to the poverty, for example. The second is hajiyat. This is the second line of the needs, right? If you have, for example, a house, not necessarily you have to have a good house. Good house is just like hajiyat, right? But a house with the all the design with the luxurious things, it is tahsiniyat. You don't need to achieve this tahsiniyat if you are not able to protect your daruriyat, a necessity, right? Specificities of corporate governance in Islamic financial institutions, right? First is ethics and social responsibility, and second, Sharia compliance. Third, interest of investment account holders, especially the unrestricted one. So in investment account holders, we have restricted and unrestricted, or mudarabah muqayyada or mutlaqah. So this one we have to protect to the muqayyadah one, because restricted. Sorry, this mutlaqah, unrestricted, means the bank are allowed to invest in any kind of investment from the depositors' money. Sharia compliance, right? Next is the potential conflicts between the combining of funds. For example, there is a funds of shareholders, there is fund of investment account holders. So there is always potential conflict of that. That's why it should be, there is a corporate governance asset. And also the last is transparency in financial reporting. For example, profit acquisition reserve, right? In reporting, we have to see always quarterly report, for example, from that conventional and Islamic, right? So what is the issues in this corporate and Islamic financial institution? First is protections of investment account holders. Of course, there is always potential conflicts between the shareholders' interest and Islamic account holder interest. Like, for example, the profit, for example, the bank, for example, achieved the profit of, for example, 100 million. So because those who are receive, the report in the first one is the shareholders. Maybe the shareholders say, okay, we giving the investment account holders only 20%, so 30% to the shareholders, right? So that's why in the corporate governance, investment account holders in the profit should be defined. How much is his share? No representations of the organs governance such as BODs and SFB is a very much problem, right? We have now the institution, they are saying we are Islamic, we are Islamic institutions, but they don't have, all right, they don't have, board of directors, they don't have a Sharia board. How to ensure that that institution is Sharia compliant? So it is become big issue on that. Right to expect accountability and transparency on investment made on their behalf, right? And the second one is the Sharia Supervisory Board. How the Sharia Supervisory Board, for example, monitoring Sharia compliance, right? How in monitoring the ex-ante and ex-post responsibilities and duties, for example, because the Sharia Board is not organs or a person who are monitoring day-to-day transaction, right? So there is a Sharia governance entities which dealing with the Sharia. These Sharia entities, they are reporting to the Sharia Supervisory Board. Issues on independence, confidential disclosure, competency, and consistency. On the beginning, we do have a problem of competency and Sharia Supervisory Board. We can see those who are sitting in the Sharia Supervisory Board, they are not expert in Sharia. So this is one of the problems. So that's why when there is a discussion among the management and the Sharia Supervision, they are not understand each other. They are not in line in one line in discussion. So that's why those who are sit in Sharia Supervision not any should be first in who are expert in Sharia or fiqh, and also they are also exposed to the knowledge of the banking. This is minimum requirement. Transparency in financial reporting, for example, current practice of Islamic financial institution on financial reporting do not provide adequate information to investment account holders regarding revenue expenses accruing to their particular investment fund. But now they are obliged to provide the full information to the investment account holders. Also, the issue of calculation of Mudorab share and profit allocation. For example, some bank they are using the average, method. Some they are using a normal method, right? Right. The scope of Islamic financial service on corporate standard. Here you can see the gap on OECD. On the companies, it should be boards. It should be in remuneration, compensation, accountability, and audit relation with shareholders, right? They are obliged to provide this one, right? On BCBS, they are also obliged to. In OSCO, there is no explanations. On FSA, Service Accounting Standard, also they are obliged to do, right? On shareholders' right and key function, equitable treatment, and OECD they provide, but on BCBS they are not provided. So they can follow OECD 1. On the stakeholders, right? Employees manager, it should be defined, disclosure and transparency also. On BCBS, there is no disclosure and transparency. So the issue of Islamic financial accountability and transparency to Islam, particularly investment account as well as Sharia compliance, have not been covered or contemplated in any above documents. So that's why individual institutions should be covered this kind of gap, right? So the scope of FSB guiding principle of corporate governance, it's cover information, environment, and transparency, which means specifying and enforcing appropriate disclosure requirement, fostering auditors' independence, enforce relevant applicable accounting standard, focus on the protection of investment account holders' interest, on organ governance safeguard interest of investment holders, especially unrestricted, adequate monitoring of Sharia compliance. Right? This is, you can read on how the IFSB is managing the corporate governance principle, right? This is also assurance principles, right? This is outcome, and this is Sharia governance crucial role. Maybe we can touch this one. Why Sharia governance is very crucial? Because Sharia governance is the niche of Islamic finance, is the mechanism which determines the Islamicity of the Islamic finance institution and industry and system. So the Sharia governance is the governance is saying that this company is Sharia compliance or not, right? Why is crucial? This is because of this. Because the Sharia is the backbone of the industry as well as its main driver. Improvement is the in the aspect of Sharia government is crucial. At the present difference, yes.
Yang ruko-ruko di Jalan Baru yang di bukan itu Matrio.
So okay, different model are Sharia board are operating in various jurisdictions. So for example, the Sharia board sit in many institutions. There is also variation in relation to the regulation of Sharia advisory services. So there was Sharia in, so this is four things is very crucial in order to for product legitimacy, Sharia compliance, and trust of stakeholders. Now we discuss about Sharia governance. Now what is the Sharia governance?
Okay,
right?
Mr. Iman, before
Yes.
we going to other slide, it is from Mr. Saiko Animo want to deliver the question. Please, Mr. Saiko Gasama, if you want to deliver your question to Mr. Iman, our speaker. Yeah. Yeah, not yet, sir, Mr. Iman. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Still writing, yeah, on chat forum.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. As per the IFSB 10 guiding principle on Sharia governance system for institution offering Islamic financial services, define a set of institutional organizational arrangement through which Islamic financial institution ensure that there is an effective independent oversight of Sharia compliance over the issuance of relevant Sharia pronouncements, disseminations of informations, and internal Sharia compliance review. So means that there is a team that makes sure that this company are compliant with Sharia, right? That requires a set of institutional body, for example, board of directors, Sharia committee, Sharia divisions, and internal audit function. Second, an effective independent oversight on Sharia compliance. Third is Sharia, a pronouncement dissemination of info or an internal Sharia review ex ante and ex post aspects of the Sharia compliance framework. So the function, governance, control, compliance, risk management is covered on this in this financial institution. So on the corporate governance, for example, normal corporate governance here, at least there is a board of directors. In additional for Islamic financial, it should be there is a Sharia committee, or what we call it a Sharia supervisory board, or in Indonesia we call it Dewan Pengawas Syariah, right? And on the control function, we do have internal audit division and external auditor. In Islamic financial institution, we have additional internal Sharia review by Sharia committee, and Sharia audit. Of compliance, we have a Sharia regulatory and financial compliance division. In Sharia, we have internal Sharia compliance and research as well. On the risk management divisions, credit, market, and operational risk. In Sharia, we have Sharia compliance risk management. Right?
Yeah, okay, Mr. Iman, we have one question from Saiku Gasama. Please, time yours, Mr. Saiku Gasama.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the floor. Raising my question, but my mic was muted. I was not aware of it. I'm sorry.
Maybe you can close your speaker.
Yeah, are you getting me now?
Yeah.
Okay, my question was with regards to the Sharia compliance financial system. Would it be a perfect solution to conflict of interest and ethical problems in financial world? Like, I don't know whether you get my question. Like a financial system that is entirely, in totality, compliance to Sharia could mitigate or reduce the problem of conflict of interest among the stakeholders and the ethical problem that the financial world is facing, especially in our accounting fraternity.
Or maybe you can write your questions in the chat, because I cannot hear much.
Oh, okay, no problem. I will do that.
Yeah, still waiting. You can write your question, Mr. Saiku, in forum chat. Yeah.
No problem. I will do that. You can proceed.
So you can write on the chat. I will read on the question on the chat. Right?
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you.
Okay, from the in order to make you better understand, right? With regard to the function of Sharia, internal Sharia function, there is an ex ante and ex post. What does it mean by ex ante and ex post? Sharia compliance, normally they are dealing with the assurance of Sharia resolutions, and as well as dissemination of Sharia resolution. From the credit perspective, right? From for example, if there is proposal of for example house financing, it should go first into the Sharia compliance unit, right? To review, to make sure that the proposal is in accordance to the Sharia rules and principle, right? So before that, also if there is a product which relates to the house financing, Sharia compliance should ensure that the product is compliant with Sharia. After disbursement and everything, all the things are done during maintenance and quarterly report. Sharia audit normally conducting annual Sharia audit based on quarterly basis or a semi-annual basis, and as well as periodic Sharia audit and assessment. So that's why this is on the exposed part, right?
Yeah. Okay, Mister, we have two questions. From the first question from Saiku Gasama, and the second one is from Novelia Aisyah.
I only see from Novelia Aisyah.
From Saiku Gasama, I write, can a Sharia compliant financial system could be a solution to the conflict of interest and ethical problem faced by the financial world?
Okay. Sharia compliance, they are only dealing with the Sharia rules and principles, right? If it is conflict between the investment account holders, for example, and the board of directors, for example, and or the shareholders, if it is related to the Sharia, for example, if it is related to the profit allocation and distribution, normally Sharia supervisor provide the resolution on that one, or they are issuing the fatwa. As per the policy, for example, or the fatwa that has been approved by the Sharia board, the profit distribution for investment account holders should be at least minimum this kind of percentage, right? So the conflict of between the stakeholders, between shareholders and investment account holders, between the shareholders and the management, always there. But if there is policies are set from the beginning that compliance with the regulatory requirements of that particular jurisdiction, this can be avoided, right? But with the condition that the shareholders and board of directors, they are wants to abide the regulations from the central bank or the particular regulators. But if they are not wants to do, normally there is a report should be provided by the management to the regulators or central banks. Right? It cannot be diminished 100%, but it's only minimized from the Sharia perspective only, right? But again, in this depending on the shareholders, objective, or how they treat the management in terms of the corporate governance. And the second question is, there is a question: is it okay Sharia supervisor oversees more than 2 banks? It is depends on the regulation of that particular institution. See, for example, in Oman, we are not allowed. A supervisory board is only allowed to sit in one bank and one takaful. Right? They are not allowed to sit more than one. Right? And we do have also chairman of chairman of High Sharia Supervisory Authority. He's only sit in High Sharia Authority. He's not sitting in the Sharia Supervisory Board of Institution, because there is always a conflict of interest, right? On that one, if you are compare, all right, if you are compare Oman and in Malaysia, those who are sitting in Sharia Supervisory Council in Central Bank, they also sit in Sharia Supervisory Board or Committee in Financial Institution. There will be a conflict of interest, right? In Indonesia also we can see one Sharia Supervisor sitting more than one financial institution. So there is always conflict of interest. Maybe there is informations in your spread it not proper. So that's what the best Sharia I can say, which is not which is far from the conflict of interest, is one example is Oman, because those who are sitting in the central Sharia board is not sit in financial institution. So when there is an issue between the fatwa in the financial institution, they are the High Sharia board in the central bank, we call it central Sharia board, is the providing pure fatwa which is not affected by where they are sitting in that financial institutions, right? Hope I can answer the question from Nofilia Aisha, right?
Also the next question, Seiku
Okay,
Gasama
there is
anymore?
also a question from Seiku Gasama regarding the situation where the operator of Islamic banking are not knowledge in Sharia. Can the operator provided they seek advice from the scholars of Islam? So that's why, because in a corporate structure, governance structure, they are dividing into support function, business function. On the business function, in order they are to sell the product itself, right? In order to sell the product itself, they have to understand the product properly from the business perspective or the Sharia perspective. That's why before the product launch, there is a training provided by the product and the Sharia in order to make full disclosure about the product itself, so that this team, they are not providing wrong information to the public, because I can see that there is a image that Islamic bank is not compliant with Sharia because of the those who are selling the product, they are not well exposed to the knowledge of the product itself. For example, they are saying we are selling house finance. When the customer said, are you house finance is Sharia compliant? Yes. Is it the same like conventional? Yes. So
when you are mixing between the conventional and Islamic, you are already providing bad image to the Islamic financial institution, whereby this, yes, in terms of this part, maybe we are the same with conventional, but how to make Islamic, we do have also differentiations between the conventional and Islamic. So that's why, as the employees of the Islamic bank, you have to explain in much detail, much detail in terms of the Islamic bank, how they operate in terms of from the Sharia perspective or from the marketing perspective. Right? So I hope that I can answer the question from our mother form.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. You can continue your presentation. We have limited
So
time.
what is the implications of Sharia non-compliance? Right? The implication of Sharia non-compliance, it make you, bad, in terms of financial or non-financial, right? From the financial, for example, Sharia non-compliance income due to invalidation of contract, it goes to a charity account, for example, right? The capital adequacy ratio impact on this one, of course, your nikar will be increased. So that's why if there is one transaction not compliant with Sharia, all the income from the transaction, it goes to the charity. So the bank cannot treat this one as an income, because it's already channeled direct to the charity and charitable organization, right? From non-financial, we will have impact as well against the commands of Allah. This company will will not receive the barakah of the business. Impediments of law, blessing or barakah, for example, you don't have any barakah or blessing from Allah, and also the most important thing is jeopardize business reputations. If your reputation is not good in the public, people will not use your product, right? And the last, of course, from the regulatory perspective, you will get fined, or in Arabic we call it mukhalafa. For example, if you are against the Sharia principle, you will get fined, for example, 10 to 100,000 Oman Riyal, or for example in Indonesia, you will be fined 1 billion rupiahs, or 10 billion. So it will reduce your profit, right? So and last is a model of Sharia governance, right? There is a centralized Sharia governance, including in the Middle East. Most of them have a central Sharia board in Middle East, like Oman, Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. They have a central Sharia board in the central bank. Excluding Kuwait, they don't have. They have only the fatwa commissioners. The same like Indonesia. Like they have a national Sharia board. They want Sharia national, right? And they are not on. They are not following the international standard, and there is no government interventions on the provision of Sharia advisory, and it is self-regulated. This is like a quiet in Indonesia. Hybrid means the institution must ensure Sharia compliance, report their effort to the central regulatory authority. So there is a central Sharia board. There is also Sharia supervision in terms of from the financial institution perspective, right? So if you want to understand how the Sharia compliance process they are doing, first is here they have to understand the product specification itself. For example, I'll give you an example of house financing. The bank itself should understand the product specification of the house financing. Then there is a research on that on this house financing, like a Sharia analysis on that. And third is conveying the right message to the Sharia scholars. We will provide the full information of the product that will be proposed to the Sharia Supervisory Board, right? There is a sign of structure. For example, if the Sharia Supervisory Board approve, they will sign that product, and there is a license with legal counsel to prepare legal documentations. We will deal with the legal department. They will manage how to prepare the legal documentation, what to sign first, how to sign, what's a point should be included in that kind of legal documents. Then getting Sharia review or legal documentation done, and procuring resolutions, and then we will asking the send this product to the central board, to the central bank to get approval, and the last is preparation of Sharia review manual. Then we will see whether this product is follow the process flow or not as per our Sharia review manual. Right? So this is from the Sharia in process in order to have that kind of Islamic product. And we have also just go to the Sharia governance function. So this is like a model of Sharia governance in Oman and Middle East, right? Okay. In Oman, we have establishment of internal and central Sharia board, which is HSSA. Sharia board is the sole authority matters pertaining to Islamic finance. Requirement the Sharia advisor and a member of the CBO is not allowed to serve Islamic financial institutions, which is different from Malaysia, Pakistan, and Indonesia. And restriction imposed to Sharia supervisor is allowed to serve only one institution. Kuwait model, Kuwait expression self-regulatory of Islamic financial. There is no Sharia advisory council at central bank. Section in chapter 10 Central Bank of Kuwait law provided every financial institution shall have its own Sharia supervisory board. In case of conflict of opinions among its members, the board directors decided to Islamic finance transfer the matter to the fatwa. Like in Indonesia, we have Dewan Sharia Nasional or DSN, right? The same like this Kuwait model. Fatwa board minister of Kuwait shall be the final authority on the matter, right? This is Kuwait model, right? All right, this is Bahrain model. They have the same like Oman, not much more the same. UAE also much quite the same. All right, Qatar also same like Kuwait, practicing self-regulation of Islamic. No Sharia advisory board at central bank. Central bank appoint Sharia scholars to solve any problem, case-to-case basis, right? So there is no like a DSN, which is quite different, right? So in summary, here you can see the summary: Oman, Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar. This is one of the Middle East example. Subject for discussions, and there are more discussion that we can discuss regarding roles, potential issues. For example, proposition for better Sharia governance, what to do. Like I already touched several points that, like for example, those who are sitting in central board cannot be also member of Sharia supervisory board in financial institution, for example. All right. Okay. There's things to be discussed. For example, Sharia board, Sharia board in Islamic financial institutions, composition and qualifications. Like for example, here. Those who are not expert in Sharia cannot be sit in Sharia supervisory board or head of Sharia. Unlike but in Oman we are not seeing this one. But in Indonesia we can see that who are not expert in Sharia, but they are sit in Sharia department or sit in Sharia supervisory board, right? So this is one of the not good also for corporate governance and Sharia governance. In Indonesia, there is no external Sharia audit as well. In Indonesia, we don't have also Sharia governance unlike the Middle East, like Oman and other countries. In Malaysia also they have a Sharia governance, but in Indonesia we don't have Sharia governance, unfortunately. Although we are practicing the Islamic banking Islamic banking and financial institution is already 28 years, but we don't have Sharia governance, right? Sorry to say that. And the scope of Sharia responsibility is most of the countries they are comply with, right? This is like a composition and qualification that I mentioned earlier. For example, at least those who are experts in Sharia, for example, in Oman, in order for you to become head of Sharia, you have to be like a Sharia scholar. So you have to provide the full detail that you are able to issue the fatwa, for example. You have to provide your research. You have to provide your qualifications. You have to provide your understanding about the fiqh and Islamic financial institutions. These all you have to provide. So that's why in order to become head of Sharia, you have to fill all the qualification that's that required by central bank. Not all, for example, you cannot see some kind of like a surprise. Oh, this guy is not well known about the Sharia, but he's become a Sharia person in that bank. So it is not applicable in Middle East, right?
Okay, the time is over, Mister.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Very clear and very detailed the explanation. Yeah, from speaker, from Dr. Iman Sastra, from explanation stakeholder value of government, the Islamic perspective on corporate governance, and also explanation of Sharia governance, and also its implication, model of Sharia governance in Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Qatar. Unfortunately, we have limited time, but we still have 3 minutes anymore to discuss. Yeah, we have 2 questions here, Mister, from the last. Yeah, saya bersama anymore, and also Nobilia Aisyah from Saiko. Yeah, is higher to get Sharia lawful? If not, how can it done in compliance with Sharia? And the last one is, what is the main priority of Islamic corporate governance? Is it about the human resource or the regulation and etc.? Okay, the time for yours, Mr. Iman, to answer.
So there is a question: is the higher purchase Sharia lawful? If not, how can it then comply with Sharia? What do you mean by higher purchase? Oh, you mean higher? Okay. I think,
hello. Okay, Doctor, you got the question?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Not in a higher.
Yeah.
Higher purchase in a sell and lease back.
Yeah, maybe is the spelling error.
Yeah, higher purchase. Yes, it is allowed in Sharia. You can check on the Sharia standard on the Ijara and Ijara Muntahiyah bi Tamlik on the IOF Sharia standard. I think on number 9, if I'm not mistaken. He's explained that if you have the asset, for example, you are allowed to sell it to somebody, then you can, lease that asset from that one, because there is 2 different contract is has been implemented in this kind of contract. So that's why hire and purchase is allowed from the Sharia, but purchase and purchase back is not allowed. This is what we call it by al-wafa, and it is not allowed also by Sharia standard in IOF, right? Accounting Organization for Islamic Finance. So it is not allowed, right? But hire, purchase, sell, and lease back, it is allowed, right? But purchase and purchase back, normally the purchase back with the higher amount, it is not allowed. But if it is lease, back, it is allowed. Okay. The second question is, what is the main priority in Islamic corporate governance? Is it about human resource or about regulatory policy in institution? Very good questions. Nofilia. So these two, important element is cannot be separated in the financial institution. Human resource also very important. Our regulatory policy also much important. So these two elements is they are interlinked each other, right? So if you have to implement good corporate governance, you have to have a good quality of human resources, which is expert in that kind of area, and you have also to have proper regulations and policy in that kind of institution. Because those who are not expert much in terms of corporate governance, they cannot implement good corporate governance in that kind of institution. If, for example, if it is good person who are working in that kind of institutions, they have also to have a proper policy. From that policy or regulation, they will implement the proper, a set of the governance of the institution, so that the institution will achieve their objective. The same like I mentioned earlier, with regard to the husband and wife. If they don't have the main objective or target after 1 or 5 years, they will miss that kind of, the objective of their life, right? Suddenly after 5 years, they don't have anything. They don't have things to achieve, right? So that's why this is very much important in order to achieve the good corporate governance culture, right? I think that's Nabili Aisha.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Iman. Yeah. And so we have many questions, yeah, in our mind, but unfortunately, yeah, we had limited time to discuss. Yeah. Inshallah, yeah. Next, the admin will send to you completely the presentation slide from our Mr. Iman Sastra Minhaja. Yeah, you can explore more about that. Yeah. We conclude. Yeah, the main presentation is, yeah, the GCG is very important for us. Yes, especially in Islamic banking or conventional one. But there is a difference in Islamic banking management. Yeah, like Syariah government, it is based on Gemakosyudu Syariah. Yeah, like Doruriyat aspect, Hajiyat aspect, and also the last one Tahsin. Yeah, it is based on Maslah aspect. Yeah. But unfortunately, in our country, we don't have Sharia standard, yeah, Mr. Yeah.
Sharia governance.
Sharia governance.
In Indonesia, we don't have a Sharia governance, structure and framework.
Yeah, it is our assignment, our obligation, yeah, our task, yeah, how to propose. It is very important issue, yeah, for Islamic banking in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to propose to OJK or Indonesian Financial Service Authority.
Yeah, OJK. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very much, Mr. Muhammad Iman Sastra Minhaja, on your participation at our forum here, IATLs, and also thank you very much for participant today. Yeah, IATLs. I think that's all. Yeah, our discussion. Because we just have our time meeting until 3 o'clock. That's why we have to close our discussion today. Yeah, let we read together by reciting Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much for all.
Thank you. Yeah, once more. Thank you.
We'll see. Maybe you can take a picture, the host, and everyone can switch on their video.
Yeah. Okay. Please, everyone, participant, you can show your video. We can take picture together. Okay. Host, co-host, Mas Firman. Where is Mas Firman?
Everyone, please switch on the video and camera. At least we can take a picture together.
Yeah. Okay, please, everyone, you can switch on your camera. We take a picture together. Yeah. With our speaker, from Oman, ya. However, from Indonesia, ya. Ya, please, Mr. Firman, where is Firman?
Okay, one,
yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay, once again, second round. 1, 2, 3. Okay, done.
Ya, oke, thank you, IPF Director, Dr. Dimas. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Ustadz Dr. Muhammad Iman Sastra.
Aib, Dr. Dimas, dan semuanya sudah mengundang. Ditunggu mainnya di Oman.
Insya Allah, Ustadz. Nunggu Ustadz Dimas ini naik haji yang ketiga kali.
Syukran. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Doctor.
Ya. Syukran jami'an.
Ya, sama-sama
Alhamdulillah
semuanya.
Ya, boleh. Ya, boleh. Aduh. Fotonya jelek, Pak. Coba tengok nih, Pak. Malah yang Bapak gerak tuh barusan. Nih, Pak. Yang punya Bapak gerak. Yang barusan. Bareng-bareng. Oh, sudah. Saya screenshot barusan. Masih nyimpan di situ. Boleh di open aja. Iya. Live-nya saya matiin aja. Dulu ITS berapa lama, Pak? Oh, 3. Masya Allah. Masya Allah. Di sebelah. Udah stop aja deh.